Foreign ministers from G7 countries met this morning to discuss strengthening their response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Just yesterday, Canada and Western allies agreed to impose restrictive measures on Russia's central bank and vowed to block some banks from SWIFT, a key network connecting financial institutions around the world. At the same time, countries are supplying more and more weapons to Ukraine. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly is here for more on Canada's response. So, Minister, you've just finished your meeting with G7 foreign ministers, and your counterpart from the United Kingdom said ahead of this meeting that she would push for more sanctions against Russia, maybe even targeting oil and gas. Is there any movement on that front?
So thank you, David. Obviously, we're extremely united as a G7. I think in recent history, ministers of foreign affairs of the G7 have not met and been in contact as much. But now what we're seeing is this is a daily conversation that I'm having with my counterparts. Definitely, we want to make sure to put maximum pressure on Russia. I've said it, and I say it again. Our goal is to suffocate the Russian regime. So yes, we will impose more sanctions. Yes, we will do more, and many, many options are on the table.
Will that include oil and gas? I know that would make things difficult for countries like Germany, but people feel that this is the best way to really put pressure on Mr. Putin. Do you think that that could happen?
Well, what we've done since the beginning is that we've been extremely coordinated, and we've worked in lockstep with all our allies. You know, at the beginning of the week, people thought that Germany would never cancel Nord Stream 2. They did. Mm-hmm. We never thought, people never thought we would be sanctioning President Putin himself. We did. And then a lot of people thought that we would not go ahead and exclude Russia from SWIFT, and we did. But every time we did it in coordination together. And so any form of further discussions about banning Russian ships from our ports or any other options are on the table are being discussed as we speak with our colleagues.
Okay, so while you were meeting with your colleagues, while that was going on, Ukraine agreed to talk with Russia without precondition. What do you think can realistically come out of those discussions?
Well, obviously, I'm aware of the conversation regarding potential negotiations. I'm very preoccupied, to say the least, about the delta, the difference between what Russia has said in the past weeks and how they've acted. And so that's why, we'll wait and see. I'm always in favor of diplomatic conversations. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, was just with us, the G7 foreign ministers. It was quite emotional. He was giving us the latest information regarding the front line and what is Ukraine's reality right now and positions. So we understand that the importance of diplomacy, but at the same time, Ukraine cannot negotiate with a gun on their head.
You mentioned that your goal was to suffocate the Russian regime with the economic sanctions and the banking restrictions that you've put in place. While that's happening, we're also seeing NATO countries supply more and more weapons and arms to Ukraine. And we've seen Vladimir Putin respond by ordering nuclear deterrent phases to be put on high alert. There's some worry that he could escalate the violence and aggression of the attack and target civilians. Are you worried about what an increasingly cornered and pressured Vladimir Putin might do?
Well, I'm very concerned with the irrationality of President Putin. But I think that the question of even using nuclear weapons in this situation is unconscionable. It is unjustifiable. This madness has to stop, David. And we will continue to support Ukraine in terms of medical equipment and lethal equipment. The Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine and I have been in close contact. She has sent me lists of equipment, which I relayed to my colleague Anita Anand. We are definitely looking at sending more of the different tools that Ukraine needs, and we are taking decisions as we speak.
Your government announced today that it's closing Canada's airspace to Russian aircraft. That's in concert and in coordination with what we've seen from European allies. But going back to the point you just made on equipment, there has been an outstanding request from Ukraine for helmets, body armor, guns, and ammunition. Are you prepared to buy more of that for Ukraine, give more of that for Ukraine, and how quickly could they see it if you are?
we're prepared to do many things for Ukraine. But to do that, we also need to make sure that we protect the delivery of it. And so that's why I've been in contact with my colleagues from the UK and the US, which we just had a conversation about that within the G7. But more than that, I've been in contact with my Polish counterpart, because many of the delivery of equipment goes through Poland. And that is why it was so important to have that conversation and to secure the delivery mechanism through the Polish-Ukraine border.
You know, Ukraine's president's called on foreign friends of Ukraine to volunteer and join the fight against Russian forces. And the UK's foreign secretary told the BBC that she would support individual Britons who want to go to Ukraine and help with that fight. I mean, given the Ukrainian population that we have here in Canada, would you be okay with Canadians doing the same? Is that something you'd encourage?
Well, I know that many people of Ukrainian descent feel the necessity to defend their motherland. And in that sense, it's their choice. But what I can tell you today and our viewers is I'm extremely inspired by the courage, the resolve, the determination of Ukrainian people. We're seeing images through media, but also through social media. And in that sense, it is extremely moving, and I can understand the emotions linked to such a decision.
I have one last question in the time that we have. Ukraine's foreign minister has encouraged countries to expel Russian diplomats. The Conservatives want you to kick Russia's ambassador out of Canada. Is this something that you're prepared to do?
Well, first and foremost, I summoned the Russian ambassador and I told him exactly, looking in his eyes, what I thought about the Russian regime, President Putin himself, and what they've done. And what we need to do right now is to continue to have an ambassador in Russia, because the glimpse of hope is definitely the fact that we're seeing Russian people themselves in the streets of Moscow, St. Petersburg, and across Russia. And I commend them for their courage, because they're speaking out and taking a lot of risk against the Russian regime themselves. So having somebody on the ground there is helpful for us as a Canadian government to understand what's going on.
Okay, Minister Melanie Joly, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.